back to my channel. As always, I am very excited for today's video, and this one, as you can tell from the title, is going to be how to study for NASM. Now, before we get into this, if this is your first time seeing my face, hi, my name is Samantha, or Sammy for short, and I'm a certified personal trainer as well as a young mom. So if either or both of those things are of any interest to you, then please hit the subscribe button and notification bell so that you can be informed when I upload all of my future content. You can also go ahead and follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Sammy for short. Now, with all that being said and out of the way, let's jump in to the video. So I have done a video about how I studied for NASM and the tips I would give to study for NASM before. That was about a year ago, so I definitely recommend checking that out. You can click that like up here or something. I don't really know where it goes, but you can click that up here. Basically, that goes into a little bit more detail about how I studied for NASM. Today, it's more so actually about trying to figure out what is your study method, because if you're like me, when I first studied, it was so hard to figure out like what type of learner I am and how I can best make this work for me. So I'm going to go over the different type of study methods that there are, or at least the 4 biggest types, explain how you could maybe utilize that in NASM, and then I'm going to reiterate what I said in that video from a year ago about how I studied. But again, to go into more detail about it, I definitely recommend checking out that video after you watch this one, or maybe first, who knows. Anyways, let's get into it. There are 4 main types of study methods. There are visual learners, auditory learners, kinesthetic learners or hands-on learners, and then reading and writing learners, which are the traditional learners, and we'll get into that at the end. But let's break down what each of these are and how you can incorporate this into your NASM studying. So visual learners are people that learn from seeing things visually. So they can see a drawing or a chart or a diagram, just they see something and it clicks in their brain. It explains a little bit better to them than words could. So they are seeing and observing things. So for examples, pictures, diagrams, etc. And usually these type of learners prefer to draw or have presentations and handouts. Auditory learners are people who learn from hearing something. So generally they prefer things like lectures over notes, and they just remember from listening. These people usually prefer to read out loud and are often much better at communicating what their thoughts are. Kinesthetic learners, which is me, hello, are very good at hands-on work. So they have to actively be doing the thing in order to understand it and have it be retained. And these type of learners usually have the hardest time, especially in school, because it's not necessarily always something that you're able to do hands-on. And these are the type of people that actually do need the most breaks when studying, because we have a hard time sitting still. And finally, reading and writing. So these are the traditional note takers who excel at that in school, can do outlines all day, every day, and retain from reading the information and just writing it down, jotting it down. Now, how can these get applied to NASM? Well, very simply, if you are a visual learner, you would more than likely best be able to study by drawing the charts and the diagrams that are presented to you in the book. So they have lots of different things, such as the anatomy man. They have a bunch of different figures that show you how the body works and how whatever they just described in the text. They have pictures, as I'm sure you all know, textbooks have those little figures throughout the book. That's probably where you're gonna get most of your information from, is drawing down those charts. For auditory learners, I highly recommend looking up YouTube videos about NASM. There are so many different creators that have created content to explain ideas of NASM. I also believe NASM has their own YouTube channel, if I'm not mistaken. Or at least when I was studying, they had weekly lectures that you were able to listen to, and even if you didn't make it during the class time, they had it like on file or something that you were able to play back again. Now, again, I'm not sure if this is still included with NASM, and I'm not sure if it's included with both programs or if you have to get the all-inclusive program in order to access those lectures. But if you do have access to it, I highly recommend listening to those. But if not, the YouTube videos is a great option. For kinesthetic learners, I think it's best to either perform the assessments and exercises yourself, or if you can, try to get a family member or a friend to let you do these assessments on them. So whether it be like measuring or different exercises you're learning. I did have my family do it sometimes, where I would just ask them to perform an overhead squat assessment, just so I could like point out like what the overactive and underactive muscles are. That's what worked best for me, because that's what I'll be doing in the actual field, and that's how I'm gonna remember it best. And for you readers and writers, it's pretty simple. You read each chapter and you take notes on it. So not really that difficult. Now, I did a little bit of a mix of all of these because yes, I am a kinesthetic learner. It's great for me currently in my field, doing things hands-on, but for the test itself, I did have to do a little mixture of everything, which specifically meant the reading and writing. So my study process, and again, I recommend going to that other video to get a more detailed version of this, but simply there were 10 modules, and in each module there was a certain number of chapters. Now, it wasn't always chapters 1, 2, 3. Like, say module 1 had chapters 1, 5, and 8. I would do chapter 1, read it, highlight it, take notes on it. Then I would do the activity for that chapter, and then I would go to chapter 5 and read it, highlight it, take notes on it, do the activity, and then go to chapter 8. And again, read, highlight, take notes, activity. Then at the end of all that, there's a final quiz for that module. I would do the quiz and then move on to the next module. And when I would do those quizzes, I would also write down any answer I got wrong, because at the end you're allowed to see what answers you got right or wrong. I would write in my little notebook need to knows. So all the things I got wrong, I wrote in a separate notebook, wrote the question and the answer, so I knew that those are things that I needed to start retaining a little bit more and things I needed to focus on more, because obviously whatever I had down, whatever I got right, I already knew like the back of my hand. I wanted to learn everything I didn't know, so I made sure to write those down as well. And then after that's done, you move on to the next module, and it's the same way you repeat it throughout the entire process until you're done all 10. And then, like, leading up to the actual final exam, I just kept taking the quizzes, kept writing the need to knows, kept studying those need to knows, highlighting whatever I needed to do. Eventually my need to knows list got a lot smaller because I was getting them right now, and then you just take the exam. So that was just a quick little video trying to give you an idea of how you can study for NASM, different ideas you might want to try. And like I said in the beginning, I didn't know what type of learner I was for a long time, and I did have to just trial and error a lot of these different methods, and you may need to do that. So you see what works for you, you see what doesn't, and then once you find something that sticks the best, you go with it, and that's how you're going to best be able to study and pass this test. But I have complete faith in you that you'll be able to do it. If you do have any questions in particular, then please leave them below and I'll be happy to answer them. And let me know as well if there's any other NASM related videos you'd like to see for this month, because just remember, if you missed my last one, this entire month is NASM November, so I will be giving all the tips and tricks and advice on the National Academy of Sports Medicine. So with all that being said, I'm gonna go, but before I do, I want to remind you all to stay positive, be active, and most importantly, do what keeps you healthy.